nobody hotter. Thank you for tuning in with your girl Tasha. We handle business, we ain't about to gossip. Here to uplift ya, now it's time to boss up. Hey, hey, tune in, nah, you can't miss. Making sure that you get your daily wake up list. We yelling bam, good vibes, good energy. Bam, being authentically me. Shout out Little Mo and Trinity, that's mini me. Gotta keep it in the family. Hey, your girl Tasha, YGT, time to get it hype. Hey, this is what you need. Hey, go ahead, turn it up, this my jam. Being authentically me like bam. With your girl Tasha, hey, let's dance. Being authentically me like bam. Yeah, now it's time to get it. Time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, hey, now it's time to get it. Time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, we about to get it live with your girl Tasha. Hey, like bam, let's go.
Hey, what's up, guys? It is your girl Tasha, known to the world as the Tasha Carpenter, but everybody calls me your girl Tasha because when you hang with me, it's like you were hanging with your girl. And I'm so excited, guys, to be coming back to you guys. Been out of the studio due to the pandemic and still waiting for WBGR to get the new studio up and running. But you know, it's getting ready to be, it's going into election season and stuff. And we have got to do our part and make sure that we share information so you guys are aware of your candidates. And I said, I just got to do something. So this is a new format coming to you from my home. Yay! All right. Today, guys, in the studio, I am so excited to have back. Let me get this beautiful sister up on the screen with us here. We are hanging with your girl Tasha today, guys, is Makeba Gibbs. Yes, Miss Makeba Gibbs is in the studio with us. Okay, guys. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Makeba, when we start off, first of all, I want to say to you, girl, congratulations. Welcome back. You actually, you're here this time. You know, it was different here. We got some people coming on saying good morning to us here. Hey, Michelle Ford. And look, guys, share and invite. Remember that, share and invite. Makeba, tell me, girl, how does it feel that you made it past the first round? How does it feel, Ladybug?
It is very, very, very exciting. I got out there and talked to voters, and voters listened, and they spoke in very loud voices when they voted during the primary and selected me as the candidate of choice for the primary. So I'm very excited. The fight's not over, even though I got the most votes out of any judge candidate for Charles County. I am not going to rest on that. I'm going to get out. I want to talk to as many people. I've been telling my friends and family that I'm going to campaign like I'm the underdog. And so,
well, don't
be the beginning.
Don't be sitting up there trying to answer some of the questions I'm about to ask you already, girl. That's some of the things on my list. We're gonna be talking all about that. But you know what?
Ma'am.
There are I just want to know. I mean, you said it just feels great. It feels great to be here, right? And you were so ready for it. So look, tell me something. Some of the people here may not be familiar with you. Okay, that's seen it. So I want you to first talk about yourself just as a person, how you grew up, your family life, your morals, things of the next stuff. Nothing professional, just as a person. Please tell everybody about who Makeba Gibbs is.
Well, thank you again. I just want to say thank you, Tasha, for having me back on your show. I love your show. I feel like you ask tough questions and you really care about the community. So I'm very happy to be here. So I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, but I've been in Charles County for 15 years now. And again, nothing professional, which is difficult because that's what I focus on when I'm campaigning. However, my background is very important. I come from a large family. My mother and father were married. They met in Cincinnati and got married in Cincinnati after my father got out of the military. He was in the Air Force and served in Vietnam. When he got out, he met my mom and they married and had a family of 5. Well, I guess we're a family of 7, but they had 5 children. So I'm the second born. And I had a really traditional upbringing. We play outside during the summer. We had chores to do. We had consequences if we didn't follow, the rules of the house. We were very supportive of one another. Being the oldest daughter of the bunch, I took on that second mom role and was very nurturing, very attentive to my brothers and sisters. And I still do that with my nieces and nephews and my extended family. Education was really stressed in our household. We had to bring articles to the dinner table, not anything huge, but just talk about a current event. That's what we called it, current event. So during our dinners, we would have to discuss a current event, and that was an assignment that we had. My father was very involved with our education, so he was involved in going to schools, parent-teacher conferences with my mom. So it wasn't just all on her to do that. And I think it was very, it was a very, very good upbringing. We talked, we were very open as a family. So I'm sorry. Um, so that's a little bit about my upbringing.
Okay, I was trying to come back on the screen with you. And, I got to play around. This is different than a studio. I got to run everything myself, girl. Multitask, multitask. So, okay, so that's great because we want people to know who you are. I think too often we don't know the background of people, because people could come to you in a campaign and it could just be your representative. Right. Now, we talked about the fact that, of course, in 2018, you did not make it to this round. Tell me, go into more detail. What do you really think was the difference between 2018 and 2020 that got you here?
Exactly what I'm doing now. I was a little bit new to the campaigning. I volunteered on some of my local campaigns in Cincinnati, and then when I was out here in DC and then in Maryland, when I moved to Charles County, I got to know some of the local politicians. But it's so different going to events and supporting them on that front as opposed to going out knocking on doors. This is pre-pandemic, knocking on doors, giving interviews and talking. I didn't have a problem talking to people one-on-one, but I didn't do a lot of interviews. And when I did my interviews, I think I was a little shy about just really stressing how important this position is and what I bring to the position. So, and again, I fell short by 315 votes. That if I would have gotten 315 more votes on the Democratic side, I would have made it to the general election. So that also told me that every vote counts and every voter counts. So I have to talk to as many voters as possible. So I'm changing things. I changed things up a lot this time. I can't be shy about this. This is a very important position. It's a 15-year term, Tasha, 15 years. I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50 last month. I will be 65 at the end of this 15-year term. That's a long time. So, we'll see many presidents come and go. In between that time, I'll still be sitting on the bench. So, if elected. So, this time I'm just going to let people know.
Okay. So look, I don't know if you're multitasking. Are you seeing the comments come up on the screen? We had a good morning from Derek Jones. He's one of the constituents in your area. Michelle Ford said she was proud to vote for you. And we also had Rosalind Ellis check in who said, hey, Tasha Makeba, please vote for Makeba in November. Okay.
Guys, okay, I'm seeing them now.
Okay. So while we're talking, you'll see me hit on here. And for the viewers, just to let you know, since we don't have the phone dial-in capability, or I'm not messing with, I could do cell phone, but I'm not. Your messages will be put up on the screen as long as they are respectful, and some of them you may hear me talk about them directly, or just look for the Makeba because they'll pop up while we're on the screen. Okay. All right. So let's see. We got one more coming in. Morning from Derek Terry, who says I probably won't be able to watch live at a community event. Okay, he'll catch the replay. All right. So Makeba, some people do not understand the importance of voting beyond the president and how the local elections are important, okay? And for that reason, some people may not understand the importance of the position that you're seeking. So in doing that, can you speak to why we need to pay attention to local elections, and also give an explanation of what actually you will be doing in your role as a circuit court judge, type of cases you take and whatever things that you decide? Just share that with the viewers so that everyone can be educated.
So, very good question. So the circuit court position will hear family law cases. So they'll decide custody issues, domestic violence issues, any protective orders. Some of them will start in the district court. Some of them will eventually get to the circuit court, or they'll start in the circuit court. Criminal charges are either filed in the district court or the circuit court, but the circuit court will hear the most serious felonies. So as a judge, I will decide custody. I will decide in jury trials what evidence comes in or evidence does not come in, which could make or break a case. I would also decide sentencing. So if someone's convicted of a crime, Maryland has what's called sentencing guidelines, and judges in the circuit court are supposed to follow those guidelines, but it's a range. So as a circuit court judge, I would decide sentencing, wills and estates. If there's anything that's not, or if it's anything that's not considered by the orphans court or the register of wills, it's going to advance to the circuit court. Anything that any crimes or any other cases that arise in the district court, which is a lower court in every county in the state of Maryland, will go to the circuit court. So the circuit court is the highest court of any county in Baltimore City throughout the state. And also, just so you know, that the judges in the circuit court are cross-designated. So if necessary, I could have to do a district court. I'm allowed to go and do a case in a district court, and also anywhere in the state of Maryland. So if there is a case in Prince George's County where all of the judges may be conflicted out of it and can't hear it, then I can go there, or I could go anywhere. It could be the Eastern Shore, it could be Baltimore County. And a lot of people don't understand that as well. So this is the state position as opposed to local position. So in 2018, when people were running for commissioners, there were so many candidates, right, Tasha? I mean, you kind of can get lost in the fray. It's so many. So I want everybody to do their research next time around because there are so many candidates. But that said, those candidates have to go to the local, in La Plata, to the local board of elections to register and file to run for those offices. As a judge of the circuit court, you have to go to Annapolis. And just the distinction is that it's a state position. It's a state level position, and those positions are highly coveted. And there's a process to get into them. And so back to the other part of the question is as far as the ballot. So there's the main race, which now is the presidential race. And in 2018, it was the gubernatorial or governor's race. That's the top ticket on the ballot. Everybody wants to chime in on who they want to be the president or the governor. Those are two very important positions. However, you will find the more you look into politics, what the president decides on a day-to-day basis, notwithstanding COVID, because there are a lot of things that are going on that they have to fast track or he can make executive orders on. But on any other time, the things that the president's doing are not affecting your day-to-day. So if you need a protective order, or your child is charged with a criminal offense, or you're charged, or you have a lawsuit pending against someone, a civil lawsuit over $30,000, a business dispute, the president of the United States has no idea that these things are going on, nor will he. And there's a process where it gets all the way up to the Supreme Court. That's the only time you're really going to see cases in the news unless they're high profile. So look at the Washington Post and Google Charles County and see how many cases they actually cover. And then the Maryland Independent, I need to follow up on this, but I believe they've even changed and are not going to be doing a publication like they used to. So the things that are affecting the county businesses, county people, county children, I'm talking about juvenile cases, those day-to-day decisions that are being made that will affect you and your community, your local community, are decided by a circuit court judge in Charles County, and in this case, in La Plata, in the courthouse in La Plata. So you have the top ticket, and then you have, the down ballot. And the down ballot would include the judges. So in Charles County, it's only going to be the presidential. People shouldn't want to ignore it because it's going to be the presidential candidate, only two, and then you go down. And then that's I want to make that distinction too. So the I was going to make the distinction between Democrats and Republicans. Everybody's going to get the same ballot. You vote for one person for president, you vote for one person for judge.
Wow. So, I'm like Michelle Ford. When you were talking, he was sharing about how you could cross over to different districts and do different jobs. I was like, I had to come back on and put my face back on because I wasn't aware of that. So you definitely dropped some knowledge that we were not aware of. Michelle Ford also says, I knew that circuit court judges could reside over district court cases, but I didn't know that they could reside over cases throughout the state. I thought they could only reside within the county that they were elected in. That is so awesome. Then, Mr. Muscleman, I'm not really sure what you're saying. I know how though if you type with that iPhone, baby, the iPhone will change your words around. But he said something about welcome new was of drug courts. Do you have an idea what he might be saying, Makeba?
Well, if he's asking about drug courts, I'm not sure because that's probably like when you do the voice to text because I use it quite often and I'll peek down at it. But
well, Mr. Stephen,
I am a proponent of drug courts and mental health courts and veterans courts. They don't have them in every county throughout the state, but they do exist. And what they are is they give in criminal cases they give judges. May I appreciate why?
I don't know. Stephen, try that again and we're going to come back to it. So with that being said, with you talking about all of the responsibilities, and I mean, that's it sounds like a whole lot going on here. With that being said, can you tell us about what type of experience you're going to bring to the circuit court judge position should you be elected?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I talked about my background and I think people get confused and they're just like, let's compare your backgrounds and why you have this experience. I've tried cases. I've done over 40 jury trials in Charles County. I've done countless trials in the district court where those are just judge trials. So I argue to the judge. And I've done thousands of cases in Charles County, not only criminal cases, but civil cases. So I know how the courtroom is supposed to be run. I know judges that I have appeared before that I felt coming out of the courtroom were very fair, very open-minded, very in touch with the community, very strong. Like a judge can't decide a case before they hear all the evidence. And some judges, you kind of know what they're going to do before you even finish your presentation. So, so I'm just looking at the comments. So that's what I understand is that the experience that I have. I also understand what justice looks like. As a public defender, I was a public defender for 9 years. And I had cases when I first started in Charles County that were mostly in district court. And people would come up to me and they would have their heads down and they'd say, I don't want to plead guilty. I mean, I want to plead guilty. I don't want a jury trial. I don't want a bench trial because I know how they are down here. And not having been in Charles County for very long at that point, because I moved here in 2005 when I started at the Office of the Public Defender, I was really shocked by that because the Constitution covers every citizen of the United States. And so, and even some people who aren't, people who are working on their citizenship. So the Constitution, those rights that are within the Constitution, nobody should feel like because of where they're from, socioeconomic, it's not just race, but race is a big part of it too. But there was the perception that if you're poor or you don't, you're not a certain color, that you're not going to get a fair trial. So I do understand what justice looks like, and I've seen that for myself. And then as far as the, again, I talked about my experience, and I believe I'm going to be fair. Well, I know I'm going to be fair. I think that the Charles County bench deserves to have someone who is understanding the issues that confront our community, that won't give any credence to someone's socioeconomic status, that each case is going to be heard in a fair and impartial manner. So I think that answers the question. And then Steve Musselman, the one who asked the question about drug courts, the drug courts will give judges an alternative to prison time. So and I just recently had a case where a client has mental illness, but for that mental illness, they would not have a case in the circuit court. And if they were to get treatment for that, that would never happen again. It would be an aberration. So without getting too long-winded about that, there is a mechanism within the court called not criminally responsible or incompetent to stand trial. And the not criminally responsible is kind of what, it's not kind of, it's exactly what, when the person who shot Ronald Reagan had, he pled not criminally responsible. He was found not criminally responsible, but he was held in a mental institution for, I believe, 30, 35 years before he was eventually released. That's completely different than a drug court. A drug court says if you apply, it's a nonviolent offense, and you meet a certain criteria, we will come together and collaborate on you getting mental health treatment, as opposed to you having to do a prison sentence. And that's the same for mental health court. I'm sorry. I'm talking about drug court. If you have a drug problem or an addiction, but it's the same difference. The mental health, drug, or veteran. If not for the treatment that you need, the special attention that you need, you wouldn't be in the court system. So it's an application process. Once you get into the program, if you finish on the back end, you could avoid a prison term.
Okay. Good morning, Paula. How are you? Everybody, please remember to share and invite, share and invite, share and invite. We want to get this information out. Now, Makeba, an additional qualifier that you've cited often is that you have been vetted for the judge position. Okay. So I have 3 questions related to that.
Okay.
Number 1, what exactly does it mean to be vetted for the judge position? Number 2, what does that process encompass? And number 3, what significance should that mean to the voters?
It just all depends.
Them if you need me to as I go.
I'm sorry.
I said I can repeat them if you need me to as I go.
No, that's fine. I'll start with the last one first. So what should it mean? It means whatever they want it to mean. I just know that people will use that, she's not vetted or she hasn't been vetted. They weren't able to say that about me, but they said it against the other candidate that's now been eliminated for the general election. And then there are other judge positions throughout the state of Maryland, judge races throughout the state of Maryland, where people were not selected by the Judicial Nominating Commission to meet with the governor. So they didn't make the short list, or they didn't even put their name in for that process. And they're now running for judge, and people are making the statements that, that person hasn't been vetted. So I certainly don't believe that process is necessarily fair or necessarily is going to weed out a good judge candidate from someone who's not a good candidate. And that goes for someone who's ultimately appointed to the bench by the governor. Doesn't mean that someone who is not better suited for the bench or is not ready for the bench. So I'll say that that's going to be up to the person to decide why that's important, if it's even important to them. But I do feel the need to explain it because it does come up. So the vetting process is it's an application process, just like for judgeships. It's just like any other judge, any other position. You apply, there's a date to turn in your application. That application is sent to 13 members of the community. They're not all judges. I mean, they're not all lawyers. Some of them are just business owners, but that Judicial Nominating Commission is appointed by the governor. It's partisan. So right now we have a Judicial Nominating Commission that is under the Republican administration. And then when Governor O'Malley was still in office, there was a Judicial Nominating Commission that was mostly Democrat. I made it through both commissions, by the way. So I went through that process. So in between the time you put in your application, between the time you put in your application and that application is due, you are asked to go to visit a lot of different organizations throughout the state of Maryland. J. Franklin Bourne, which is a minority bar association in Prince George's County, the Women's Bar, which is a state bar, minority bar, LGBTQ community. They have a bar association, the Asian bar, the Hispanic bar. You interview with them and they'll write a letter to the Judicial Nominating Commission, those 13 members that that a candidate ultimately interviews with, and they'll say this person is qualified or not qualified, or we don't have an opinion on it. They have to keep the letter pretty to just those three statements, because otherwise it just becomes too unfair, and very it's really not a way for people to really, get a good idea of how that board feels about the candidate. But whatever the case, I did interview with them. I got qualified or highly qualified when I did that. The local bar association chimes in and they send letters. The Judicial Nominating Commission calls around to all of the judges and lawyers and state's attorneys and commissioners and says, what is this person's reputation? What do you think about them? And the local bar, the Charles County Bar Association, which I was the president of, I was on the slate, so I've held every position within the Charles County Bar Association. They found me the last time they voted the most highly qualified, and either qualified or highly qualified. I got the most votes. So I've been in front of a lot of people talking about my desire to be a judge, my qualifications to be a judge, and I have gotten through those. I've jumped through those hoops, and I've also been, I've made the short list, and I've met with the governor. I've met with Governor O'Malley. I met with Governor Hogan, and it's an exciting process. And you go through it, and you're just like, oh my goodness, I could be one step closer. But the process is very political. I would have loved to have been selected, and people may make something of that, but I've certainly been vetted. It's up to the people, and the people who are selected, by the way, that's an interim position. The Maryland Constitution says that you are appointed for a short term, and then you're vetted by the people. So no matter what that process says about going through that Judicial Nominating Commission, which is political within itself. So there are a couple of people who stayed on the Democrat and Republican side, I think someone who is now he's the campaign manager for my opponent was on the Judicial Nominating Commission. I mean, I know it's a small community, but everything's just kind of like, mixed up. So anyway, I mean, it's a lot more that could be said about that whole process. And I'd be certainly happy to talk to anybody else who wants to call me. You can email me at electmakebagibbs.com and I can tell you more about that. But what I find is that people will rely on that. But honestly, the voters it didn't matter. They realized that this is a position that's very important and people need to be not only vetted once by the commission. That's a process they've come up with. This is the other part of that process. And the other part of that process is that the voters get to decide who that judge is going to be. And I'm very, very excited about it.
Okay. So now being a judge to me is just like having a job, okay, a career, whatever. And the bottom line that no matter what kind of role you have, where you work at, whatever environment the workplace is, whatever field you're in, you're always going to run into some difficult people. Okay. Mm-hmm. Difficult people. So in that being said, in your type of role, when you're in the courtroom, of course, you can run into difficult peers, other judges who might not agree with you. You can run into the lawyers, the clients, the litigants, and all the other kind of stuff. What is your approach or what is your style towards addressing people who are difficult, and how will you handle it should you be elected in the courtroom?
So you just have to be calm. I've watched judges over the years. So as a public defender, when you go into the courtroom, you have to, the paid attorneys cases are called first. And then they do the public defender cases because those people more than likely are being charged by the hour. Clients are being charged by the hour. So that's the process. It doesn't always happen that way. So I was able to observe a lot of cases because of that while I was sitting in the courtroom. And I would take the advantage to see how judges' demeanor would be when they would be faced with a difficult client or a difficult lawyer or a difficult situation. And the main thing I saw was that the judges would remain calm. And I think they were also just mindful of the fact that I'm in a courtroom every day. I'm very comfortable in a courtroom. I'm very comfortable talking to judges, but the general public is very nervous. I see people, I've chatted with people coming into the courthouse, coming through security, and the look of sheer terror on their face because it's just a big unknown. And they'll say, I don't want to be here. I've never been here before. I don't know. They say this all the time. I don't know anything about this system. And so a judge has to be mindful of the fact that that's how people feel. So some of the some of the reaction that you're getting from people who are standing before you may just be because of the nerves, because they're not really sure what's going to happen. So if a judge can reassure them that this is how the process is, and a judge can't give legal advice, but they could certainly ease the worries of that person, to just explain to them generally like how this process is going to go and what it's going to look like, can sometimes help people feel better. There are times when people are under the influence. They may also have outside pressures, life pressures. So as long as I want to keep an open mind about what people may be going through when they come in the courtroom, and just be as patient as possible, as graceful under pressure as possible. Take breaks, allow my staff to get breaks, and just maybe have bench conferences. That's where people come up to the bench. We got to talk about how we can diffuse a certain situation, and just have control of the courtroom. And I think that takes a very strong person. It takes practice. I've been in front of court. I've been in front of judges, not just in Charles County, but all over the state. So I've had an opportunity to see how judges should behave, and I believe that I'll be certainly prepared for that position. But be calm. And then also, when I was at the public defender's office, I would sometimes have 5, 6 cases or more in one day, and I became very experienced at just talking and explaining to people what the process would be. And even now in private practice, I'm in my office now, but now in private practice, people will come for a consultation. And after that consultation, after they get more information they get, the more calm they are. I mean, they have sleepless nights in just getting that information. I'll tell you just a really quick story. I had someone reach out to me about a federal criminal case. She was just like, I think I've been charged, but I haven't heard anything. This was in the middle of COVID, the beginning of it. And I said, I don't practice in the federal courts, but you should contact the public defender's office, because they'll be able to give you information. They can look up your case. And instead of just waiting to hear from them, you should reach out and get that information, because you know how they say knowing's half the battle? Like, just get that information, then you won't have to torture yourself. You're losing sleep because of something that the case might have been dropped. You don't even know. So she thanked me. She was very, very appreciative of that. But that's my mindset. Like, just get some information.
All right. Okay, guys. So look, right now I got to take and give some homage to some of my sponsors. So we're going to go with one commercial, but stay here and come back on the flip side as we finish learning why you should vote for Makeba Gibbs.
The Adventures of TRK Man.
Tracy and Sharon shopped at the mall with friends on a beautiful Saturday afternoon.
I have to use the bathroom. Can't you hold it until you get home? Public restrooms are nasty. I know, but I can't wait.
Sharon dashed to the bathroom to find a dirty seat, no toilet tissue, no soap, and no other options. Frustrated, she screamed,
There's no toilet paper. This sounds like a job for TRK Man. Protect your bottom!
TRK Man arrived just in the nick of time. He supplied Tracy and Sharon with the restroom kit. The restroom kit contained a patented oversized toilet seat cover, 3 feet of toilet tissue, and lightly scented hand and tush wipes. Sharon's frustration went away. She found comfort as she relieved herself, and she strolled from the restroom feeling great.
Thank you, TRK Man!
You too can overcome the hassle of poorly equipped restrooms while traveling, camping, or anywhere there are public facilities. Go to therestroomkit.com or call 800-581-4181 to purchase now.
Protect your bottom!
The Restroom Kit is a small business founded by an American veteran. For wholesale opportunities, email info@therestroomkit.com.
All right, guys, you got to protect those bottoms. And if you just don't know, this company, again, as I said, is a veterans-owned company right here in the DMV out of Clinton. Mr. Bill Massey awesome company, and you just don't know how convenient those restroom kits are. All right, so back to it, guys. We have hanging in the studio today candidate for circuit court judge in Charles County, Miss Makeba Gibbs, and she's been sharing and educating with us. We've learned some information already that we had no idea about, so it's been going great, and we're going to continue to allow her to explain why you should cast your ballot for her in the upcoming election. So Makeba, there's what is it that you call the people that I feel like there are people like that street corner lawyers, but people decide to come into court and they want to represent themselves. What is the term that's involved with that?
It's pro se, or you could just say self-represented litigants. Self-represented.
Okay. Now, when it comes to that, I can imagine that, of course, most of those people don't have any kind of law background. So probably when they come into court, they think they might be doing the best thing for themselves, some of them, and it's not always the best thing for them to do for themselves. So I don't know what kind of discretion you have when you're sitting in that position, but how would you handle those individuals that come into the court, especially in situations where you're hearing that they're not really, what they're saying is actually harming them instead of hurting them?
That's a very good question, because that's where the judge has some limitations. You just cannot. I'm a strong advocate for my clients today because I'm an attorney and I appear before the court on one side or the other. Either I represent the plaintiff or the defendant in civil cases, and in criminal cases, the defendant, because the state's attorney represents the state's interest. So, but when you go before a court, you cannot. You cannot rely on a judge to give you some guidance as to how you're supposed to present your case or what the law is. And I recently had someone come see me after they did a custody case, and it didn't like dawn on that person that they should have gotten legal counsel. I mean, you could shop around if you may be able to find an attorney that can put you on a payment plan if you can't afford an attorney right away. Or you may find that, attorneys have different pay scales. So, but it behooves you to get at least a consultation so you can have an idea of what the process is going to be and what it is that the court is going to be looking for when they go. That's what a consultation is. So, so when that person went before the court, I'm sure the court would prefer two lawyers to be there. But guess what? The court is already jam-packed with cases. And it's a backlog of cases. It's even going to be more so with COVID. So when you come before court, you're going to do a custody case. There's certain evidence you want to get in. If you don't know how to do that, a court's not going to show you how. This is not a teach as you go. You won't have the benefit of getting that evidence in. If the person doesn't know to object to evidence, evidence may come in that is completely objectionable. So a judge is not going to make a case. And I've been in front of a judges that it's two attorneys, and the attorney knows the law a little bit better, or their objection is stronger, their argument for objection is stronger, and they're not able to get a piece of evidence in. So you can imagine how someone who's a novice has no knowledge of the law, what a hard time they're going to have with it. And again, it's that having a lawyer is going to lower your anxiety to a level where they can handle it. You don't have to handle it. You try to be the lawyer and the party in the case. It's just a recipe for disaster. So no, a judge cannot advocate from the bench. And actually, they're not even going to encourage you to get a lawyer. They're not going to postpone a case to encourage you to get a lawyer, because that's going to cause a backlog of cases. So sometimes it's just like, call your case, and you could be harming yourself in that case. So that's a limitation that the court has. The courts are limited in doing that. We are arbiters of justice, meaning we sit and we hear and we make decisions. We call balls and strikes when it comes to entering evidence in, and also making a final determination. But we don't help create a case. That would not be fair.
So hold on, guys. Y'all out there watching, did y'all hear her? Is she speaking into existence? She said, "We this, we that, we this, we that, we this." So she's saying
Absolutely.
it. Look,
Absolutely.
we
If
have
I don't claim it, who will?
all right, Vontaja Sims. I'm checking in. She say, "Vote Gibbs for judge. Vote Gibbs for judge, guys." So yes, you were. I was like, I listen to it. We do this, we do that, we do this. It's like I am already in a position. I got my judge robe and I am standing up.
Well,
Okay.
of course, I need votes to get in. So, I mean, let me say this very humbly. I really would love it if I am elected, but standing in the role of a judge again, I have a habit of doing that because I'm seeking it. But we cannot. And let me add this too. We're not mediators. Look, judges are not mediators. Judges are not mediators. So you're not going to get parties going. I mean, of course, it's okay to say, well, is this some way we can work this out? And the parties say a couple of things and it sounds like they're close to coming to some kind of agreement, and you send them back out in the hallway to see if they can finish up those finer points. But no, we're not. It's not a mediation. It's a trial. It's a hearing.
All right, so we are going to Michelle Ford says speak it and claim it if you missed it on the air, and we have someone that we stand with Makeba Gibbs. But look, you brought up COVID-19, so that's going to make me go ahead and shift gears right here now, because I actually had some emails that came in with a few questions, and I decided to select a few questions from the community for you, if you're okay with answering those questions.
Sure.
Okay, so going on, because you talked about COVID-19 backing up the court systems. A person basically said, with the current pandemic and handling of the COVID-19 with regards to the education system, from the point of view of teachers who may find themselves being forced to teach face-to-face, and you yourself as being a parent, so this is somebody that must be familiar with you because they know that you are a parent. Concerns of safety for the children required to go to school or that fall behind because of the virtual teaching is not conducive to every student. So I guess they're saying the teachers are being forced to go on. They don't want to lose their jobs. They got to go on and got to do work if they're in a school system that's making them go there. The parents are sending their children in there, especially if it's elementary school children. How do you really trust them to social distance and things of that nature? Or if you do the flip side and do the virtual, the children are falling behind because of education. They want to know what, if any, legal ramifications are available to the parents, to the teachers, and would that be something that would fall under the jurisdiction of the circuit court umbrella?
So there are administrative agencies like the Board of Education, administrative boards that people can complain to, take issues to, and that's on the parents' end. If it has to do with their children and what they feel like the school system is doing, and if there's a decision that's made that they don't agree with, they can appeal those decisions, and that would come to the circuit court. And then on the other end, would be employment law, and that sometimes can be federal, sometimes it could be state. It just all depends. But what the teachers will do is talk to the teachers union and talk to their union rep, and if they're lawyers that are part of their package, and then that attorney could bring a lawsuit if it's something that's personal, if there's anything that like health wise that they're experiencing because of that. There are channels, and a lot of those, not a lot, but it's quite possible that those issues can find their way into the circuit court on an appeal from those administrative processes.
Okay, and the second question deals with the other thing. We got two things going on. We got the pandemic going on, and of course, we got the uprising over George Floyd going on. Okay, so it's the Black Lives Matters movement. The second question was, what is the court's stance on Black Lives Matters? What do you think of the public perception of fairness of the court system? And do you believe it can be changed, or how would it be changed?
So, as far as the court, the Maryland court, the chief judge, that's Chief Judge Barbera, for people who do not know, she issued a statement on July 22nd, and it is titled She released a statement on June 9th, and it is a statement of equal justice under the law. And it just talks about how the courts in Maryland are making an attempt to change and correct some of the perception and of injustice and the actual injustices that are taking place. There have been some reforms that have happened. I'm looking through her statement. It's a 3-page statement, and she's just saying that they're working to improve justice and how it responds to the public and the legal community based on the most recent events. And she starts it out by saying that protests of the last several weeks have coalesced into the truth that cannot be ignored. People of color are being denied their rightful equality. And it also says that it's difficult and painful, but necessary and overdue conversations are taking place across our state and our nation. So I would encourage you to read this. There is, I believe that there are steps being made to correct some injustices and also that perception. And it goes back to what I was talking about early on, is that people will say, I don't trust the Charles County system, or I heard that the court system isn't fair, and they don't believe that they're going to get justice. So I think that if you look at that, you'll look and see how the courts are addressing it. I do believe that things can change. I believe that it takes having a diverse bench, and that's diversity not only in racial makeup, but in experience. So I think that that's important to have. She mentions that, but if you look at the makeup of judges throughout the state, it doesn't necessarily reflect the community at large that they serve. So I think that they're getting better at it. I think they're making strides at doing that, but they certainly have a little ways to go. And I also wanted to mention too, because there were some young people, it was very exciting to see young people voting in the primary. The primary was June 2nd. There were still protests. There are still protests going on throughout the state, throughout the world, addressing social injustices, and that does stem from the George Floyd case. And there was a question that was posed to the Maryland Judicial Ethics Committee, and that's a committee that's set up for judges to say, hey, is this something that we're allowed to do or not? Or are they allowed to do or not? And the question that is posed is, may a judge participate in protests, marches, rallies associated with the Black Lives Matter movement, where the focus is on racial or economic inequality, police brutality, justice system reform, and voting rights? And Tasha, do you want to guess what the answer is from this committee?
It should be no.
The answer is no.
All right, now we have a question. We have a question that was on the screen. I think this is another one of those, maybe typing, some things got changed around, but we're going to try to make it out from Ms. Vontasia Sims. She says, how do you feel about judicial review boards on the local level? Should judges, sentencing, records, pleas, community involvement, etc., be available to the public?
Sure, why not? Why not? I mean, I think the judges need to be safe. So the way that it's publicized should be it should be very conscious to it should be very cognizant that a judge there was a very sad case where a judge's son was killed, and that was in the news recently. So people are very concerned about that. But there's a way to get the record out there so the judges know that they're going to be they're being watched. It's just not a anything goes. There was an incident that some people are aware of, where a judge ordered a defendant be tased, and that was when cameras were in the courtroom. They had just put cameras in the local courtroom, and he was charged in federal court with violating that person's civil rights. And 10 years ago, would people know about it? With the internet and the social media, so I think the record is important too, statewide, so that the judiciary can adjust why sentences are addressed, why sentences are more harsh on the Eastern Shore or in counties that border larger jurisdictions like Baltimore County as opposed to Baltimore City, how those sentences vary too much. So I don't have an issue with that. I would hope that it wouldn't be a political ploy. These things become like political. Who gets on it and who's not on it, and scrutinizing that process of getting that person on. So I think we can get there. I think it's going to take people being involved in the process.
Okay, so that's on. I only picked two. Y'all sent me a couple. I only picked two. I'm gonna shift back. To your girl Tasha questions. Now, during the primary, there was a total of 15,854 ballots cast in your favor over your current opponent's 14,088 ballots, a difference of 1,766 votes. The candidate who did not make it past the primary had a total of 10,581 votes. Makeba, what's your plan of action to capture the support of those voters, which is truly going to decide this election, depending on who they go for, you or your opponent?
Well, I am going to do exactly what I've been doing, and that's educating people, talking to people. That's 10,000 votes. Those 10,000 voters chose her, and I think that right now they're saying my candidate isn't in the race anymore. What other candidate is going to, am I going to support and get behind? I've had people who were supporting her contact me and say, hey, how can I volunteer in your campaign? So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, educating people, encouraging people to vote. Early voting dates are October 22nd to October 28th. Last time around during the primary, you received a ballot in the mail. All you had to do is fill out your ballot and send it back in, self-addressed stamped envelope. You're not going to get that chance this time. Now you're going to get an application. I don't know when that application is going to go out for an absentee ballot. All that ballot was when we got in May for the June primary was an absentee ballot. And so if you want an absentee ballot, you have to request it. You don't have to wait for that application because it may not come. Some people didn't even get their ballots in May. So don't wait for that application to come. Go online. You can go on the Maryland Board of Elections page. You can email me. That information should be on my Facebook page. You can email me if you need that, but it's a link. Do it online.
Well, actually, voters, if you are reading the things that are scrolling across the bottom of the screen, they've been changing up, but up here it has been saying for a while. Let's let it start over. Let's read together. Here we go. General election, November 3rd, 2020, 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Early voting, Thursday, October 22nd, 2020 through Thursday, October 29th, 2020 from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. For more information, visit elections.maryland.gov. On that page, it has the link. It has a link so that you can go ahead and request that. Don't wait. Get it done. Don't wait.
Don't wait, because people are saying like, oh, like I'm really upset. They're not doing the mail. That decision has been made. There's no point in, I mean, you can debate about it all you want. That's up to you. But, the bottom line is that you need to get that ballot if you don't want to stand in line. Some people don't want to stand in line. And the good news is that there's early voting. So how about you vote on Sunday at 4:00 in the afternoon when there may not be that many people there? Don't wait until November 3rd where you don't know, like you could just not be feeling well on that day. You could have car problems. I hope that wouldn't stop you. Yeah, but certainly if you're not feeling well with COVID, you can't risk going into a public place like that. So don't wait until the last minute. The early voting places, according to the Board of Elections site, are Glen Eagles Apartments, that's in Waldorf, off of Billingsley, and then Sacred Heart. Last time it was at the early voting station was at the Firehouse in La Plata. Now it's going to be at Sacred Heart. That's where the election was on June 2nd. So don't wait until the last minute to get that. And for people out there who have millennials in their home, use them. Tell them to put a reminder in your phone, in your calendar, so you'll get an alert. It says, I haven't done this. Or have them go on the website, tell them to get their tablet, and tell them to go on the Board of Elections. And you as a family get that, because these numbers should be, I've never seen people talk about politics so much in my life and be so just outraged about different issues. You can't have that type of energy and not vote. You can't have that mindset and not vote. You just have to. And then vote for me, of course.
You got to take those actions. You got to take those actions.
You
Um,
have to.
and something else I was going to point out too. I mean, what she said is definitely right. No matter what, if it's going to be mail-in, not going to be mail-in, the governor might change it. He may not change it. Another issue is, guys, too, as you know, and this is the beauty about doing this from home. I don't have to worry about somebody else coming into the studio to start their show. So that means that I can go over my hour. But anyway, I want to make sure that you guys know it. You should have seen the news about the number of shortages that we have with regards to people volunteering to be election judges and volunteering to be chief judges, okay? And it's all because of the COVID stuff. Definitely, if you have an underlying condition and stuff, that could be very frightening for those people who don't even have it. If you're healthy, volunteer. Your girl Tasha, I'm actually a chief judge. In fact, I was in charge of the Bach Road Center during the mail-in thing or whatever and stuff. And there were so many precautions that they took with providing you with the face mask if you wanted to wear it, giving you the face shields, giving you sanitizer, having people wipe down stuff, having a special cleaning company that came in and they wiped down each voter booth and everything after the person used it, guys. We cannot afford, because I think, don't quote me on the numbers, I don't know why somebody the other day told me that supposedly they're about 14,000 people short of something. That's crazy, guys. We need to have people volunteering to do this. You get paid. If you had a good union job like mine, you get paid from the job and paid from the board election all in the same day. Just go out there and go to this website. That's where you can learn information and you can apply for it too. We need to have election judges and chief judges out there to make sure that this election can go off. Okay. Now, going back to it, you had to talk about being impartial and stuff when we talked about the people that go into the courtroom and represent themselves, you know. And so that means that you have to shift gears. Do you believe that you're going to encounter any kind of problems moving from your role as an advocate to your new role as a judge?
I don't think so. I'm certainly going to miss some of the aspects of this position because I'm dealing with people. I'm helping people. I'll be able to help people on the bench, but I help people in a different way. I see them through an issue all the way through to the end, and you gain their trust. You have very private information about them that you're entrusted with, and you're fighting for them. So they're standing behind me while I'm fighting for them, and so I'm good at that, and I like that. But so I miss that aspect of it, and then too, the camaraderie that I have with my fellow attorneys when I go in the courthouse, when I'm calling them up, I can still communicate with them, but it's going to be different. And I've had friends in the past get on the bench, and when I call them up to ask them about a certain issue in a case, I realize I can't go to them like I used to because I don't want them to be conflicted out of a case in case it's in front of them. I want them to be my judge. So if we've had conversations about an issue, they're not going to be. So there's going to be some limitation on how I can. But this job is a natural progression for someone who loves the law, loves to learn, believes in justice, believes in fairness. And so I do believe I'm equipped for that. And what I'll miss from it, I'll make up in other ways. And Tasha, I know we talked about the Black Lives Matter movement and why judges, when we said that there was a question posed to the Judicial Ethics Committee, and you were right that the answer is no, the judges cannot participate in those events. But I do want to, I don't want to leave a loose end. I do want to say exactly why they said that, because a couple of people in line said, what do you think about this? It says, given the description of the activities, we're talking about protests. It says it includes that those activities include a focus on law enforcement and perceived shortcomings in the system of justice. We conclude that participation in such a protest, march, or rally could cause a reasonable person to question a judge's independence or impartiality. And that's what a judge should be. A judge should be independent and impartial, cannot be a witness, cannot have a stance on a certain issue. And accordingly, a judge should not participate in the event. And that goes for judge candidates as well, because I'm sure, as you can imagine, if I'm elected in November and I'm participating in any type of event that would not, the reason a person would not find to be independent or impartial, I could be conflicted out of that. So I just wanted to kind of sum that up and not leave it out there that the answer is just no. And people can look those up. Those are public. This is opinion request number 2020 number 13. So you can look those up. That's public record. It's a published opinion.
Okay, with that being said, thank you for providing that clarity there. With added information. Information is power. Tell me, and I got two last things to ask you, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Voters want to know what people are going to do. So people have flat platforms. They share what they're going to do. A lot of times is promises that are broken. Sometimes they're broken because people just can't keep the promise that they made once they get into the position. But for you, without making any kind of promises, can you tell the people what type of changes you would like to bring to the Charles County court system?
I certainly would like to improve the perception that the Charles County courts are not fair. And that's not for everyone. Not everyone that comes through there, but there's a certain fragment of the community that just feels like they're not going to get a fair shake in there. And I want to bring that to the courthouse, to the position, to position if I'm elected. There are a lot of people who, especially now more than ever, are not going to be able to afford attorneys. And how I handle pro se litigants, I think they have to be handled very delicately, because while I can't give them legal advice, I can certainly leave them feeling that the system's not stacked against them, but that there's a process that has to be gone through, that there are certain rules and processes that need to be followed, and it's not personal, but that there are resources they can use to come to court better prepared if they have to represent themselves. I certainly wouldn't encourage them to do that. And then also, I think that there should be these specialty courts or drug court, mental health court, veterans court. There's a high number of people who are addicted to substances. More recently, there's been a lot of attention to the opioid epidemic and the deaths that are coming out of that. They're coming through the court systems. There's been a decriminalization, so to speak, with marijuana cases. And that's not on a federal level. So, those are being dealt with. But there are things that are happening within the juvenile system. I think that people don't understand that's not a criminal system. That is a system that is not, no one can be found guilty in that. They have to be found involved. And a judge can find them delinquent or not delinquent and and order them to get some type of treatment. It's for rehabilitative purposes. So I want there to be very important programs and attention being brought to those cases. And I just, again, I can't promise things because every case is going to be different. I've had cases that seem similar, but have certain nuances that make them just completely different in how a judge should look at it and view what the outcome should be, whether it's civil or criminal. So, that's just what I strongly believe is needed in Charles County, and it's what I believe that I'm going to be bringing to the bench.
Okay, so now try to figure out. Let's see how we're gonna go do this. Should I just wait? Do I close out with you or do? Well, your girl Tasha just gonna be winging this thing. I think that I should let you guys know, since this is a new platform, I am going to be here on Saturdays at 11 a.m. And for those of you who may know other candidates, no matter where they are, with doing it in this method, you could join me no matter where you are in any of the 50 states, so we could do an interview with you. Or if you're a person that has a business or anything like that, or some good community thing, something positive that you want to be spotlighted, I want to make sure that everybody actually has my information in order to join us and get on the show. Hold on, I'm gonna go here. So You could take your time to just write this down. Come back with us on Saturdays at 11 a.m. If you want to get booking information or talk to me about coming on the platform, you can call me on 240-545-5695. I'm looking for featured guests to be scheduled up every weekend. Again, political candidates, entrepreneurs, community leaders, authors, and more. And guys, I want to announce right now who will be here next week hanging with your girl Tasha, so y'all can get the word out and make sure that you come on, okay? We're going to be having a discussion about things you need to know to impact your community, okay? With special guest Janelle Wilkins, Maryland delegate Janelle Wilkins, okay? Because I want you guys to understand something here. Too often, and this is something that I say in the union world too, right? People think that the responsibility stops with the person who is elected in the position. It does not stop with the person who is elected in the position, okay? Us regular residents and people of the community also have responsibilities to make our communities better. And there's actions that we have to take. Part of it is becoming educated about the rights that we have, and also making sure we do things like voting, like turning back your senses. So next week, that's what Janelle is going to be here to give you all that information so that you could do what you're responsible for too. So let's get Miss Makeba back on here, sweetheart. At this point, do you have anything else that you would like to share? Any upcoming events that you may be having? Any subject that you believe that was not touched that the people should consider in making their decision to vote for you, okay? And being sure that you're one of the circuit, become a circuit court judge, 15-year term. 15-year term for Charles County. I'm going to just give the floor to you, and you take your time and share whatever you need to share, sweetheart.
So thank you again for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. You always make me feel very much at ease, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the community. I just think you have a very strong voice, and more people are needed like you. But I'm very, very pleased that I was able to appear on your show. I need volunteers. There are going to be, I don't know if all the polling locations are going to be open. There are 44. So I think it's 44. It's between 44 and 48. But whatever the case, I want to have coverage at those polling locations. There's still campaigning left to be done, and campaigning costs money. So I would like to ask if you want to make campaign contributions, that you go to electmakebagibbs.com. Hopefully that's allowed on your show to ask for that. But you can go to electmakebagibbs.com. If it's $5, $10, $20, $2,000, feel free to do that, because it supports my campaign. It's allowing me to get my message out to more Charles County residents. And tell your neighbors, tell your friends, text people. Everybody's texting. Send a group text to say, hey, when you get your ballot, because everybody's going to ask for an absentee ballot. When you get that application, when you send that application online and you get it back, tell all your friends, and family, help them to do the same thing that you're doing, getting that ballot out there. And then November 3rd is going to be a final push for that. I got the most votes in the primary out of any other candidate, but I'm not resting on that victory. The work begins. There's no telling who's going to come out to vote, so I need your support up until the very end. I have the experience. You can find that on Let Makeba Gibbs. You can find that on my Facebook page. The experience is there. I've been practicing in Charles County for 15 years. Very strong-minded individual. I'm someone who can take control of the courtroom, not afraid to call balls and strikes. I've worked with almost every attorney that's practicing in the Southern Maryland region. So the attorneys that will be appearing, if elected, will be appearing before me. I'll be familiar with them. So I know really how a courtroom should run, and I'm excited about having an opportunity to do that. I think that's it. Just remember early voting. That's across the screen. Just vote. Just vote. Vote. Every vote counts. Don't think that, she's probably already won, so I'm not gonna vote. No, every vote counts, and bring a couple of people. And this time, the nursing homes, the senior homes, they're closed to the public. I think that's going to be all the way through November. They shouldn't be allowing too many visitors in and out. Make sure you're asking about your loved ones' ability. If they're not going to be able to get to the polls, ask them if they're helping them apply for absentee ballots, because it's not fair for them to be disenfranchised. I would not want my mom at an advanced age to be going to the polls. Just not something that I want to happen. If you're going to take them during off-peak hours. And you can get that information from the Board of Elections. They should be able to tell you when the certain times of day during early voting were the least busy. Actually, that's an idea. They should encourage seniors to vote at a certain time of day, but probably too late to do that. But again, I thank you so much. I'm sorry.
It is no time that's less busy, okay? I'm sorry. It's just
during early voting.
That is less busy at all. And like Michelle said, the whole thing about the senior homes and stuff, that's a very great point. Yes, a very great point. And Terrence Coleman, joining from Chicago, says, I like that baseball reference, lady.
Yeah, I really am a baseball fan. I grew up watching the Reds, the big red machine. So I'm telling my age, but I already told it anyway. I don't mind telling it, but no, I'm definitely that's very important. This is not a mediation position. You're going to make a decision. I will be making a decision when elected that someone may not find is popular, but a decision has to be made, and sometimes it's a very close call. And however that plays out, that's not lost on me how important it is. So that's why I say balls and strikes, because you got to call it and then keep moving. That's how the game is played. You make that call and you keep going. You fight with the umpire, you're going to get tossed out the game.
All right, guys. So there you have it. You have all the information that you need to look at Makeba Gibbs, candidate for Charles County Circuit Court Judge. And this is the conclusion of your first home presentation of hanging with your girl Tasha, and it was so much fun. But I'll see you back here next week. Makeba, best of luck to you. Thank you for coming on to the show. And with that being said, guys, bye.
Hey, ain't nobody hotter. Thank you for tuning in with your girl Tasha. We handle business, we ain't about to gossip. Here to uplift ya. Now it's time to boss up. Hey, tune in, you can't miss. Making sure that you get your daily wake up list. We yelling bam, good vibes, good energy. Bam, being authentically me. Shout out Little Mo and Trinity. That's mini me. Gotta keep it in the family. Hey, your girl Tasha, YGT. Time to get it hype. Hey, this is what you need. Hey, go ahead, turn it up. This my jam. Being authentically me like bam. With your girl Tasha, hey, let's dance. Being authentically me like bam. Yeah, now it's time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, hey, now it's time to get it. Wake up, time to handle business. Yeah, we about to get it live with your girl Tasha. Hey, like bam. Let's go.